we're doing an Ethereal Workshop tier list because Venin came out recently and Ethereal Workshop is now finished, so now is the most appropriate time for us to start making a tier list of all the monsters. So first of all, we need to get our tiers ready here. Alright, we've got all of our tiers here. We've got the best but less good, average, below average, and this emoji to kind of, you know, signify how, you know, not good the monster is. It's kind of embarrassing. So we're going to start off with our first monster on this tier list, which is Mekin. Now Mekin is the first monster you obtain on Ethereal Workshop, and it's also one of the easiest to get. I think it's one of the most stable ones. It, you know, adds up quite a good bit to the song. As you know, its design is pretty iconic, pretty much, you know, the face of the workshop. But, you know, I think it's deserving of going into B tier, average. Now, obviously, next up we have Urek. Now, Urek is definitely one of the main monsters to sing on this island, of course. I definitely say it adds probably the most to the island than any other monster. And because of that, I have to add it into A tier. Its design isn't necessarily my favourite in the game. You know, it could be better. I remember when the island first came out, I didn't really know how to feel about its design. But you know, its sound is great and it adds pretty much the most that any monster could on Ethereal Workshop. Next up we have Blarit. Now, I think Blarit is a little annoying, which I know is so unpopular. Because everyone decides that Blarit is their favourite because, you know, it's cute, I suppose. But personally, don't really like this monster as much as the others. I do like it, of course. You know, its design is alright. Definitely not the best at the original 5 Ethereal Workshop monsters. And you know, it sounds a little annoying at times, especially its second track. So for that, I'm going to put it in C tier for below average. Of course, it does still sound good. I just don't necessarily think it is the best monster on the island here. So next up we have Gadzuk, I believe. Now obviously, similarly to Urek, it is probably one of the monsters that adds some of the most like parts to Ethereal Workshop. I think without Gadzuk, Ethereal Workshop would not sound good at all, because the whole percussion relies on one monster, even though like a third of the monsters I think are percussionists. Yeah, most of the percussion is in one monster, which I find a little strange, but you know, whatever, it's fine. So we're going to put Gadzuk in A tier. Obviously, similarly to Urek, I don't really like the design all that much, but you know, the sound more than makes up for its mediocre design, which is why I'm putting it in A tier, the best but less good. So next up we have Ogler, I believe. I spelt this wrong in one of my videos, one of my last ranking videos, which I put a lot of effort into actually. But you know, Ogler, like, it's good, okay? It's definitely better than Blarit, obviously. And I think this was my favourite of the 5 of the original monsters. But now that I know more of the monsters that came out, I've kind of taken less of a liking to Ogler, because most of the other monsters take Venin, Penttumra, Teeter-Totter, Rismuth, Venin. You know, they have a lot better, you know, design. And Ogler doesn't exactly have it plays piano, which is quite a large part of like the song. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few of its tracks that it's in. I mean, verses that its tracks are in. And because of that, I'm going to put it into B tier average, because you know, Ogler is still a really good monster. It's not a bad monster by any means, and it does add quite a fair amount. But next up we have Flask. Now Flask it came in wave 2 with Whale and Nightbear. Of course, Flask, I think his design is definitely one of, if not the best, you know, Ethereal Workshop design here actually. And its sound is pretty, it doesn't add the most to the song, but like it makes quite a big difference to the song in general. You know, I think it's really good. I think I have to put it maybe top of A tier right there. Flask is definitely one of the better monsters that are in here. Now we also have Nightbear. Now I think the Five Nights at Freddy's reference bumps this up quite a bit, but other than that, there isn't much going for Nightbear. Its design, in my opinion, is disgusting, and you know, I think XRT is way better than this, by the way, and its sound is also very bad. So for that, I'm going to put it in C below average, because, you know, Nightbear is just not necessarily the best, but I don't think it's the worst monster. It's just far from being the best. In fact, I might even move it down to D tier because I don't think any other monster is going to go into D tier. So I'm changing it, going into D tier. Final answer. Nightbear is definitely not one of my favourites on this island. And now we're starting to get into the quads. In fact, no. We're going to go next up with Plash. Now, Plash came with Venin in Wave 3. And a lot of people don't like. A lot of people say that it, is really offbeat, doesn't add a lot to the song. But I mean, personally, the design is alright, and I do agree, it does not add much to the song, but it's still a good monster. I don't dislike it by any means. Next up, we have XRT. Now, this came with Penttumra in Wave 4. Probably one of the most hated monsters on Ethereal Workshop. You see, it adds basically nothing. And if you take a look, and it's gross, okay, it adds basically nothing, and the little it adds is kind of disgusting. And its design isn't exactly the best either. But in my opinion, I mean, I'd rather have it in the song than not, of course. But because of the fact that it doesn't really add much, I like it a lot more than like Blarit. But just because of this tier list, like it's like objectively below average monster, quite clearly. So next up we have Teeter Totter. This came with the Routh in Wave 5, I think. Yeah, Wave 5, and it's the most unstable triple and the final triple Ethereal to be added to the game. Now, Teeter Totter is it adds quite a bit to the song. I mean, it fills in some of the previously quiet parts of the song that felt quite empty. So I do believe that Teeter Totter should probably get a spot in one of the higher tiers. In fact, I might say it's my favourite triple. So now we're starting to get into the quads. So first up we have Whale. Now Whale was the first Ethereal quad to be added. It came in Wave 2. And its design is definitely probably the worst out of all the quads. But its sound definitely makes up for it. I think that purely because of its sound, it goes straight into the top of A tier, for now anyway. It's just amazing sounding, and it's it did have its track that was so long awaited that MSM Pole Gamer was like tripping over. So yeah, that was great. And now we have Venin. Venin also goes into A tier because Venin's design definitely incorporates the mech element very well. It very well incorporates it into its design and its sound. In fact, I think I might put this above Whale actually, because the way its sound is just very creative in my opinion, and I really do like that. I do appreciate that. They need more monsters like that, of course. I'm going to purposely skip it on Penttumra for now. I'm going straight up to Routh. Came in Wave 5 obviously, alongside Teeter Totter. Now, it is another percussionist, which I feel like this one was pretty necessary, I guess. More so than Urek, of course. That's why I'm going to put this one also into A tier. Of course, it transitions into the other verses pretty well, in my opinion, and I think because of that, it deserves a spot in A tier. So yeah. It also Minecraft, it looks quite, and I also had the Rubik's Cube reference in its bio right there. So that's probably why I'm putting it into A tier. Next up, I'm going to do Urek, of course. I'm putting this one into B tier because it's not my favourite quad. It's my least favourite quad. I feel like I like the design, I like the sound. It's not a bad monster, but was it really necessary is kind of my point here. I don't really think it was that necessary. I mean, I know it's kind of different to XRT because XRT basically adds nothing. Urek adds a lot more than XRT, which is why I'm putting it above XRT, of course. But its design is pretty disgusting, which I mean, fair enough. It is the most unstable quad, and it's meant to be based on the poison element, so I'm not really surprised there. So that's why I think B tier is probably good for Urek. It's not the best sound. I mean, it's alright sounding, but the design's not the best. We don't really need that many percussionists on the island, so B tier probably my least favourite quad. Now, what should I go with? I think we'll go with Penttumra, of course. Penttumra, in my opinion, is the best quad. In fact, I think it might be one of my, if not my favourite monster in the whole entire game at this point. I don't know, either the Wubboxes or Penttumra. I don't really know what to choose. Penttumra is just one of my favourite monsters overall. Best Ethereal, best Quad, best everything. I love Penttumra. Definitely one of my favourites there. I don't know what else to say. Its sound is amazing, its design is amazing. It's just, I just love how the animation is. The animation is very good as well. I feel like most of the fan-made Penttumra animations I see don't really manage to get the shadow quite right. I'm not sure why, I'm not sure if it's difficult. I don't really know anything about animating it anyway. But, you know, overall I feel like it's a very well animated and designed monster. And finally we have Venin, the Quad. Obviously this has to go into S tier because we got Landon voicing it, which is, in my opinion, very, very cool. And I feel like this is one of the only Ethereals that actually incorporates the Ethereal elements. I mean, the only either workshop Ethereal that incorporates all the elements. Like, I feel like, excluding the Quads, which are all based around a specific element, none of the monsters really have any of their elements in their design. Like Blair, I don't think matches any. Mekin, same there. Only really the mech elements I can really see and understand. But yeah, so I feel like that is my entire list. I mean, like, Venin, of course, his design is amazing. The reveal in the player part was amazing. You know, of course, Venin is probably not. It's probably second place, maybe on the workshop. Yeah, second place on workshop for my tier list here. It's just a really good monster. So that's my entire tier list here. We got Penttumra and Venin in S tier, Venin, Whale, Rismuth, Teeter-Totter, Flask, Urek, and Gadzuk in A tier, Mekin, Ogler, Plash, and Ugadi in B tier, Blair and XRT in below average C tier, and our only monster in D tier being Nightbear. I know there's a lot of Nightbear lovers. I mean, the Five Nights at Freddy's reference makes it good. That's probably the only thing I really like about Nightbear. It does add a little bit to the song though, so, you know, there's that. That's the end of the video now, so please, you know, like or subscribe, whatever you really want to. Yeah, and check out some of my other content as well. Okay, bye.